You know that moment when your entire world shifts on its axis? When everything you thought you knew about your life turns out to be a carefully constructed lie. I'm talking about the kind of moment that splits your life into before and after. Mine happened on a Tuesday morning in March, when I found a receipt in my husband's jacket pocket for a hotel room I'd never been to. But let me back up, because the real story, the one that matters, started long before that Tuesday morning. My name is Sarah, and I'd been married to David for 15 years. We met in college, got married young, built what I thought was a solid life together. He was an accountant. I taught high school English. We had a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, a golden retriever named Max. From the outside, we looked like the American dream. But marriages aren't lived from the outside, are they? For the past 3 years, something had been off. David worked later and later hours. He'd come home distracted, checking his phone constantly, claiming it was work stress. The intimacy between us had dwindled to nothing. We were like roommates sharing a mortgage. I told myself this was normal. This was what happened in long marriages. People grow apart, then hopefully grow back together. I'd seen it with my parents, with friends. I convinced myself we were just in a rough patch. The signs were all there, if I'm being honest. The new cologne he started wearing. The gym membership he suddenly cared about after years of letting it go unused. The way he'd take calls in the garage, saying it was his difficult client, Mrs. Henderson. You know what's funny about denial? It's not that you don't see the signs. It's that you become an expert at explaining them away. That Tuesday morning changed everything. David had left for work early, as usual. I was doing laundry, checking pockets before throwing his suit jacket in the dry cleaning pile. The receipt was folded small, tucked deep in the inside pocket. At first glance, it looked like any business expense. The Marriott downtown, one night, charged to his credit card. But we'd never stayed at that hotel. And the date was last Friday. Friday, when he'd told me he was working late on quarterly reports. My hands started shaking. Not from sadness, not yet. From this cold, crystalline clarity that I hadn't felt in years. Like someone had just turned on lights in a room I'd been stumbling through in the dark. I sat down at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals together, where we'd planned our future, where we'd had countless conversations about everything and nothing. And I called the hotel. Yes, I need to verify a charge on my husband's card, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. David Morrison, room 412 last Friday night. The desk clerk was helpful. Too helpful. Oh yes, Mr. Morrison is one of our regulars. He and his wife check in monthly. Such a lovely couple. His wife. The words hit me like a physical blow. I thanked the clerk and hung up, then sat there staring at the receipt. Monthly. This wasn't a one-time mistake, a moment of weakness. This was a pattern. A relationship. You know what's strange about discovering your spouse's infidelity? The first emotion isn't always heartbreak. Sometimes it's relief. Relief that you weren't crazy. Relief that your instincts were right. Relief that you finally had permission to stop pretending everything was fine. But then the heartbreak comes. Oh, does it come? I spent the rest of that day in a weird, detached state. I went to work, taught my classes, graded papers. On the outside, I functioned normally. Inside, I felt like I was watching someone else live my life. When David came home that evening, I looked at him across the dinner table and saw a stranger. How was work? I asked the same question I'd asked every night for 15 years. Busy, he said, not looking up from his plate. Mrs. Henderson is being particularly difficult about her audit. Mrs. Henderson. I almost laughed. There probably wasn't even a Mrs. Henderson. That night, lying in bed next to him, listening to him sleep, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him yet. I was going to find out everything first. Because if I'd learned anything in my 15 years of marriage, it was that David was an excellent liar. And I was tired of being lied to. The next few weeks were the strangest of my life. During the day, I was a detective in my own marriage. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Lisa who specialized in infidelity cases. She was professional, sympathetic, and brutally efficient. Most people don't really want to know the truth, she told me during our first meeting. They want to be proven wrong. Are you sure you're ready for whatever we find? I was ready. Or I thought I was. Lisa's first report came a week later. Her name was Amanda. She was 32, a marketing executive at a firm David's company worked with. They'd been seeing each other for 2 years. 2 years. While I was home wondering why my husband seemed so distant, he was building an entire secret life with another woman. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was in the photos Lisa provided. David and Amanda at restaurants I'd begged him to take me to, places he'd always said were too expensive or too pretentious. David and Amanda walking hand in hand through the park where we used to walk when we were dating. David looking at Amanda the way he used to look at me, back when we were young and everything felt possible. He'd given her the version of himself I'd been missing for years. I kept going to work, kept maintaining our routine at home, kept pretending everything was normal. But inside, I was planning. Because I realized something about myself during those weeks of investigation. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was angry. Furious, actually. Not just about the affair, but about the years of lying, the gaslighting, the way he'd made me doubt my own perceptions. David had stolen more than just our marriage. He'd stolen my sense of reality. Lisa's final report was comprehensive. Bank statements showing charges for jewelry I'd never received. Credit card bills for dinners and trips I'd never taken. Hotel receipts going back 2 years. Phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts to Amanda's number. But the piece of information that changed everything was about our finances. David had been siphoning money from our joint savings account, small amounts over time that I hadn't noticed. Money that was supposedly going to our retirement fund was actually funding his double life. That's when I stopped feeling sad and started feeling strategic. I consulted with a divorce attorney, a sharp woman in her 50s who'd seen it all. She looked over Lisa's evidence and smiled grimly. "Your husband has been very careless," she said. "This level of deception, combined with the financial misconduct, puts you in a very strong position." But I wasn't ready to file for divorce yet. I had a different plan. You see, David wasn't just cheating on me. He was stealing from me. And I decided it was time for him to face some consequences. I started with the small things. I opened my own bank account and began transferring my paychecks there. I changed the passwords on all our streaming services, our shared credit cards, everything that was technically in my name. I copied all our important documents and stored them in a safety deposit box at a different bank. Then I waited for the perfect moment. It came 3 weeks later. David announced he had to work late on Friday night. Another emergency with Mrs. Henderson. I told him I understood, kissed him goodbye, and wished him luck with his difficult client. That Friday evening, while David was at the Marriott with Amanda, I was at home hosting a dinner party. I'd invited our closest friends, David's brother and sister-in-law, my parents, his parents. Told everyone I wanted to surprise David with a celebration of our upcoming wedding anniversary. I cooked his favorite meal, set the table with our wedding china, put together a slideshow of our 15 years together. Everyone was there by 7 o'clock, expecting David to walk through the door any minute. "Where's David?" his mother asked around 7:30. "Oh, he's running a bit late," I said cheerfully. "Work emergency." You know how dedicated he is. By 8 o'clock, people were getting concerned. I was checking my phone, calling David's office, acting worried. His phone went straight to voicemail, of course. It was turned off, probably lying on a nightstand at the Marriott. "This isn't like him," his father said. "David never misses family gatherings." That's when I brought out the laptop. "You know what?" I said. "Let me show you some photos while we wait for him." I was putting together this anniversary slideshow. I started the presentation. Beautiful photos of our wedding day, our honeymoon, holidays with family. Everyone was smiling, reminiscing, talking about how young we looked, how happy we seemed. Then I got to the recent photos. The ones Lisa had taken. "Oh," I said, pretending to be confused. "These aren't ours." On the screen was David, clear as day, kissing Amanda outside the Marriott. The room went silent. "I'm sorry," I continued, my voice perfectly calm. "I must have accidentally included some photos from the private investigator I hired. You could have heard a pin drop." I clicked to the next photo. David and Amanda at dinner. Then another. David and Amanda walking hand in hand. Then the financial records. Bank statements showing the money he'd been stealing. Hotel receipts. Phone records. David's mother started crying. His father looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. My parents sat in shocked silence. Our friends were staring at the screen like they couldn't process what they were seeing. "I'm sorry you all had to find out this way," I said. "But I thought David's family and friends should know the truth about why our marriage is ending." His brother found his voice first. "Sarah, we had no idea. We're so sorry." "It's not your fault," I said. "David made his choices. Now he gets to live with the consequences." I served dinner. We ate mostly in silence, but gradually, people began to talk. David's own family was horrified by what he'd done. They apologized to me over and over. They were embarrassed, ashamed, angry at him for betraying not just me but their trust in him as well. David came home around 11 o'clock that night, probably expecting to find me asleep. Instead, he found his suitcases packed on the front porch and the locks changed. There was a note taped to the door. "David," it read, "your family and friends know everything. The bank accounts are frozen pending our divorce proceedings. You can stay at the Marriott with Amanda until you find somewhere permanent. My attorney will be in touch." He pounded on the door for an hour. I watched from the upstairs window as he called and texted, his face going from confusion to panic to rage. The neighbors called the police when he started shouting. 2 officers showed up and explained that he couldn't force entry into a house where he was no longer welcome. I never answered the door. I never took his calls. The divorce was swift and decisive. With Lisa's evidence, David had no choice but to accept my terms. I got the house, most of our savings, and alimony. His reputation was destroyed. Word spread quickly through our social circle, his workplace, even his family's community. Amanda broke up with him within a month. Apparently, the excitement of a secret affair lost its appeal when it became public knowledge, and he was suddenly broke and unemployed. David tried to reconcile, of course. He sent flowers, letters, emails. He showed up at my work, at my favorite coffee shop, at my gym. He claimed it was all a mistake, that he loved me, that we could work through this. But here's what I learned about myself during those months. I was stronger than I'd ever imagined. The woman who had spent 3 years making excuses for her husband's distance was gone. In her place was someone who knew her worth, who wouldn't accept lies or half-truths or promises of change. I also learned that revenge isn't always about hurting someone back. Sometimes it's about refusing to let them hurt you anymore. The best revenge against David wasn't the public humiliation, though I won't lie and say I didn't enjoy watching his carefully constructed image crumble. The best revenge was rebuilding my life without him. I kept the house but redecorated completely. I traveled to places I'd always wanted to see but couldn't because David never wanted to spend the money. I went back to school and got my master's degree. I started dating again, eventually meeting someone who treated me with the respect and honesty I deserved. David tried to contact me for years after the divorce was final. Birthday cards, Christmas gifts, emails on our old anniversary. I never responded. He was part of my past, not my future. The last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment across town, working as a bookkeeper for a small company. His affair with Amanda had cost him his job when their relationship became public knowledge and created conflicts of interest with clients. He'd burned bridges with most of his family and friends. Sometimes people ask me if I feel bad about how I handled the situation. If I think I was too harsh, too calculated, too cruel. The answer is no. David made a choice to betray our marriage, steal our money, and lie to my face for 2 years. He made a choice to gaslight me when I questioned his behavior, to make me doubt my own instincts and perceptions. I simply made a choice not to be a victim of his choices anymore. Here's what I want you to understand. When someone betrays your trust, especially someone who's supposed to love and protect you, you don't owe them a soft landing. You don't owe them privacy or discretion or the chance to control the narrative. You owe yourself the truth. You owe yourself justice. You owe yourself the chance to rebuild your life on your own terms. My story isn't unique. Millions of people discover their spouse's infidelity every year. Most handle it quietly, privately, trying to preserve everyone's dignity. And that's fine if it's what they choose. But if you're in a similar situation, I want you to know that you have other options. You have the right to be angry. You have the right to protect yourself financially and legally. You have the right to tell your story, to seek support from family and friends, to refuse to keep someone else's secrets when those secrets are destroying your life. Most importantly, you have the right to choose yourself. To choose your own happiness over someone else's comfort. To choose truth over peace. To choose a future that doesn't include someone who has proven they can't be trusted. It's been 5 years since that Tuesday morning when I found the hotel receipt. 5 years since I discovered that my marriage was built on lies. 5 years since I chose to fight back instead of just walking away quietly. I won't say it was easy. Divorce is never easy, even when it's necessary. But it was worth it. Every difficult conversation, every legal battle, every moment of uncertainty was worth it to get my life back. Today, I'm remarried to a man who has never given me reason to doubt his faithfulness. We have a relationship built on honesty and mutual respect. I sleep peacefully at night, never wondering where he is or who he's with. I trust him completely because he's earned that trust every single day. David gave me the gift of showing me what I wouldn't accept in my life. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you teaches you the most about who you really are and what you're truly capable of. If you're going through something similar, if you're questioning your reality or making excuses for someone who doesn't deserve them, I want you to know that you're stronger than you think. You're worth more than lies and half-truths and crumbs of affection. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply refusing to settle for less than you deserve. Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories.